1:30, so we're supposed to get started. Ross went to grab a copy of his book, and he has two books out there, Inciting Joy, which I intended to get the Book of Delights because what a wonderful way to end the conference, especially since one of the first sessions I went to was the Book of Obscure Sorrows. So yeah, I'm going from sorrow to joy, though sorrow is touched on in Inciting Joy. But what a wonderful non-oxymoronic title. I love the concept of inciting joy. It's like non-random acts of kindness, intentional acts of kindness and joy. And then the Book of Delights, which he'll be reading from today. And as I said, there he is. He just stepped out to get that. So some of you heard the script earlier, but we're going to continue to read that regularly. I'm Holly Mosley from Camp Crook, South Dakota, and my friend Renee, who we haven't seen for a while, just said, where in the world is that? Just go up 85, it jogs along 90 for a bit, and then it heads north from Spearfish up to Buffalo, South Dakota. And then you got to jog west again and go over the jump off, which is not a buffalo jump, but the weather, the territory, maybe even the mindset, the climate changes. Like Buffalo's zone 4, we're 4, 3, 5. Anyway, and before you hit Montana, that's where I live. I can see it from my front yard. So I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of the South Dakota Humanities Council, which produces the annual Festival of Books, and they continue to do a wonderful job. We hope that you'll enjoy the festival and that you'll provide feedback about this year's event. The link to our online survey is available at sdbookfestival.com, and QR codes can be found at our information tables. You can help keep the festival free by making a tax-deductible donation to the South Dakota Humanities Council. To donate, visit sdhumanities.org or stop at the information booth here in the lodge. With your gift, we found out, you can still enter our drawing for the original festival guide cover painting by local artist Gary Steinley. Donate $50 for your first raffle entry and $10 for each entry after that. And whether you win the painting or not, that your money is doing a whole lot of good for a whole lot of people. This festival would not be possible without the generous support of the numerous organizations and individuals who have already donated and are acknowledged on the back cover of the guide. That's the organizations. Somewhere there's a list of the individuals too. And we'd like to note before we start that you are welcome to take photos of Ross Gay during his reading and discussion. He prefers, however, not to have pictures taken outside of his presentations, including during book signings. So please respect his request. Yeah. And so today, if you haven't bought these books yet, I highly recommend it. And I've just started reading them, though, as I said, I'm a little over a third of the way through. No, that's my marker from before I started reading today. I'm halfway through the Book of Delights already, and it is a delightful surprise. It's not all what we would consider delights, but it keeps bringing you there. So we welcome Ross Gay.
Morning, everyone. It's good to see you all. And Brian, it's good to be here with you, to read with you. It's so moving because we are like, we know this, but for those of you who don't, we're kind of like exact same generation. Our first books came out like very near the same time. So it just feels like moving and beautiful to hear you read your beautiful poems. I'm going to read the first essay in this first Book of Delights and the last essay in the first Book of Delights. just kind of for shits and giggles. I kind of thought it would be neat to hear them. Thank you for your introduction. I think partly something that you were saying made me want to do that. And the first one is called My Birthday, Kinda. This is August 1st, 2016. It's my 42nd birthday, and it would make perfect, if self-involved, sense to declare the day of my birth a delight. Despite the many years I've almost puritanically paid no attention to it. A sad performance of a certain masculine nonchalance, non-flamboyance? Might have been, poor thing. Now it's all I can do not to bedeck myself in every floral thing imaginable. Today, both earrings and socks. Oh, and my drawers, hibiscus patterned, with the coddling pocket in front to boot. And if there's some chance to wear some bright and clanging colors, believe me, some bit of healing for my old man, surely, who would warn us against wearing red, lest we succumb to some stereotype I barely even know. A delight that we can heal our loved ones, even the dead ones. Oh, broken. Oh, beautiful. So let me first say, yes, mostly the day of my birth is an utter and unmitigated delight. And not only for the very sweet notes I sometimes get that day, already 5 by 8:15 a.m. from Taiwan, the Basque Country, Palo Alto, Bloomington, and Frenchtown, New Jersey, but also for the actual miracle of a birth. Not just the beautiful, zany, and alien, and wet, and odorous procedure that is called procreation, but for the many thousand, million accidents, no, impossibilities leading to our births. For God's sake, my white mother had never even met a black guy. My father failed out of Central State, too busy looking good and having fun, so they say, got drafted, and was counseled by his old man to enlist in the Navy that day, so as not to go where the black and brown and poor kids go in the wars of America. And they both ended up, I kid you not, in Guam. Black man, white woman, the year of Loving versus Virginia, on a stolen island in the Pacific, a staging ground for American expansion and domination. Come some babies. One of them, me. Anyway, you get it. The older I get, in all likelihood closer to my death than to my birth, despite all the arugula and quinoa, the more I think of this day as a delight. But that's not today what I want to land on, if only because one's birthday is also the day of hollering many delights, if you can muster them, which today I can. This morning I was walking through Manhattan, head down, checking directions, when I looked up to see a fruit truck selling lychee, 2 pounds for lychee is a delicious fruit if you don't know. Lychee, 2 pounds for $5, and I had $10 in my pocket. Then while buying my bus ticket for later that evening, I witnessed the Transbridge teller's face soften after she had endured a couple unusually rude interactions in front of me as I kept eye contact and thanked her. She called me honey first, delight, baby second, delight, and almost smiled before I turned away. On my way to the Flatiron Building, there was an aisle of Coosa dogwood, looking parched, but still the prickly knobs of fruit nestled beneath the leaves. A cup of coffee from a well-shaped cup. A fly, its wings hauling all the light in the room, landing on the porcelain handle as if to say, notice the precise flare of this handle, as though designed for the romance between the thumb and index finger that holding a cup can be. Or the peanut butter salty enough. Or the light blue bike the man pushed through the lobby. Or the top knot of the barista. Or the sweet glance of the man in his stylish short pants, well-lotioned ankles gleaming beneath, walking 2 little dogs. Or the woman stepping in and out of her shoe, her foot curling up and stretching out and curling up. And then I'll read the last one from the book. I love there's a mistake, there's an error in this book. And the error is that it says the last one is preface. It says, at the end, it has dates at the end of them. And this first one, the last one, it says preface, which what I just read is. I love those things. They make the books more interesting. Long as it's not like a terrible mistake. That just like, yeah. My birthday. It's my 43rd birthday, and today I am, without hesitation, delighting in that. I began the day by sitting in my bed, drinking coffee, eating oatmeal, and reading Eduardo Galeano's Book of Embraces. Sweet notes abound, one of them with the promise of birthday lentils, which might not sound celebratory to you, but this is my delight. Among the delights, noticing on a patch of at first look barren ground no fewer than 4 colorful tiny flowers in bloom, one of them pink as the sky over the cemetery in Bloomington on lucky nights, one yellow as the sun. A black cat on the way to the kombucha store. They sell other things. I was getting booch. Whom I startled awake by yelling, "Gato!" A young man at the laundromat who asked me if he could tell me a joke, which makes me nervous because, But feeling emboldened and lucky and generous, I said, go for it. What does your hippie buddy tell you when you try to kick him off your couch? Namaste. And kids playing a board game in the cafe. I think it was life. And phone conversations with beloveds. A tiny bee alighting in the gully between my knuckles. A hummingbird hovering close enough to fill my left ear with wind. A very sweet hello from the woman stocking shelves, rubbing her eye with her fist and smiling. A hard but loving workout. A nap as a light rain came down, swaying the blinds. An early evening cup of good coffee. The hiding moon lighting up a cataract of clouds. And 2 cards, birthday cards. One with a glittering butterfly, and one with a woodchuck eating pizza in tighty-whities. And a handwritten letter in which my friend explained that delight means out from light, and is etymologically connected to delicious, to delectable, which I did not know, despite this past year turning and turning delight over, which connects delight also to cultivation, makes it a garden. I'm inclined to sum something up, as this has been a year-long project, and so today is kind of like a graduation or a funeral, where someone, in this case me, offers a commencement address or eulogy. Why delight now, the inclination wonders, or what I have learned from delight, or, God forbid, my year of delight. Though those might be catchy titles of books I won't be writing, I have nothing to sum up, because today is the day of my birth. My friend Pat told me about the village next to his mother's in the Philippines where, a few years back, a typhoon had leveled most of everything. Salvaged from the wreckage, stacked in the gazebo that had survived, were all the doors. And let me read this first one in this book, 5 years later. Well, here we are again. That was called my birthday, again. Well, here we are again. This time, my 47th birthday. This year, we decided to enjoy a week away up in a little rented cabin in Vermont, which has a bounty of delights. The first of which is that apple trees grow everywhere here. Yards, roadside thickets, parking lots. And this year, they're loaded. I mean, I have never seen forageable bounty quite like this. And it makes me want to come back with a pickup truck to snag a few years' worth of applesauce. As we were driving around, admiring all the apple trees, I was also admiring that very Vermonty and Catholic-sounding roadside feature called the pullout. Also called, I love the lag on that joke. Also called pull-offs, they are common here as air. Room enough for a few cars to pull over and look down at the beautiful river roiling through the boulders below, or overlook the valley with the first embers of fall in the leaves. Shortly after we pulled out of a pull-off, we pulled into yet another of the delights of Vermont, a roadside farm stand. This one peopled by people, though sometimes they're peopled solely by a box in which to slide your money. A trust box, I've never heard it called, though we should. As we were getting some blueberries and raspberries, we overheard some Vermonters who were happily whooped from summiting a pass earlier today. They described it while picking out their fruit. Beautiful, this and that. Challenging, but fun. So we got directions from them, and after we settled up, we headed there. The trail started right at the edge of the parking lot, which was more like a pull-off, and we entered what was immediately a lush and magical forest. Birches with their bark curling like pages of old books, ferns luminous from the light dappling through the canopy, plush carpets of moss, nearly fluorescent mushrooms. It was ruggedish, lots of scrambling up slick slabs of, I think, granite. We were both sweating pretty good within the first half hour or so, and Stephanie stashed her sweatshirt behind a fallen tree. We passed through what felt like several ecosystems, and when, about 2 hours later, we finally approached a sign that we knew in our heart of hearts was going to tell us 100 feet, maybe 50 to the summit, it said 1 mile to go. We'd only eaten a couple handfuls of berries. I'd only brought a not all the way full quart glass jar of water for both of us. And as we were contemplating reaching the top, a couple hikers approached the same sign we were looking at. They both had on big packs. One looked to be about mid-60s, the other late 20s or early 30s. We learned they worked together and were practicing for a longer trip on the Appalachian Trail, with which this trail intersected. The older of the two was the boss. She had hiking poles, and the younger looked a little bit coerced. The boss asked us which way we were going, and we told her that we were deciding whether or not to go the final mile, pointing in the direction of the summit. Upon which she looked us up and down, noting, I guess, our attire, t-shirts and shorts, and then she asked us, or maybe actually she was telling us, "You know cotton's a killer, right?" Then pointing to our feet, unsupportive sneakers, she made an "are you kidding me" face and shook her head no. Then she asked how much water we had, and I shook the half-full quart glass jar. Cutely, I thought. At which she sneered, "That's not even close to enough," making an "are you stupid" face. And then she said, "and no glass on the trail." I was already backing away, trying to sneak down the trail for who wants to get chewed out on their birthday, when Stephanie, for some reason, blabbed about, "Yeah, I am a little hungry," and "yeah, I have a little bit of a headache," and "yeah, my knee's kind of bothering me too," blah, blah, at which I recoiled and ducked my head like, why would you tell her that? Like she's gonna yell at me, which in a Vermonter way she did. In full-on, take your head out of your ass ease, she actually asked, "What's wrong with you?" After we told her, "Everything is wrong with us. You're right. Thank you so much. And no more glass on the trail. Sorry about that, ma'am," she said, sort of chipper again, "Okay, take care now. Enjoy Vermont." As we were descending, we could hear her talking shit about us to the ranger a few yards farther up the trail. She was hungry. He had a glass jar. They were wearing cotton. Trotting down, enjoying myself, trying to not smoke Stephanie and her hurting knee and head, I found myself whistling and feeling the soft earth receiving my inadequate footwear, and the glowing ferns dragging their feathery fronds along my suicidal cotton shorts. And I noted how pleased I was, delighted even, as I tend often to be at having not reached the summit, to have gotten close but no cigar. An interesting quality I was turning over in my head on my glad descent. Maybe I'm afraid of failure. Maybe I'm afraid of the ends of things. Maybe it's a rejection of the conquering spirit of some of my forefathers. Maybe it's a distant cousin to the way I, for some reason, always leave out a tiny bit of a few ingredients when I'm cooking. A few slices of onion, a couple small potatoes, 3 florets of broccoli or cauliflower. Maybe it's a small and weird gesture of hope, leaving something in the tank for tomorrow, which implies there will be a tomorrow. Maybe not finishing is a prayer for the tomorrow. An interesting prayer to make on the first day of a year-long project. Though it was a dueling prayer I made when Stephanie brought home 4 very delicious birthday tacos for me, which, along with the chips and guac and the kimchi and the roasted sweet potatoes and the kombucha, I did in fact summit. Bless you. This is called the wide berth, B-E-R-T-H. Today, as I walked on a narrow-shouldered road, very distracted by the abundance of forageable food, more rogue apples, raspberries, choke cherries, a whole 8-foot wall of thimbleberries. It's like Willy Wonka's out here. These Vermonters driving in their Subarus or pickups almost to a one gave me a wide berth, veering a good 8 or so feet away from me. Sometimes they crossed all the way across the double line into the other lane. And most often, while berthing me widely, they waved. Though this is not the first birth of note, of delight, for today is my beloved friend Walt's 50th birthday. No doubt some extra confetti for this party because Walt was supposed to be gone from leukemia over a decade ago. Not to mention that, like me, he's had an intermittently troubled mind. He's had a mind itself intermittently difficult to survive. And yet here he is. Here we are, still together on this side. Our friendship nearly 40 years old, which some days makes me look at it like it's my child. I guess it's our child. To say, my God, you're 40 years old. How'd that happen? Our 40-year-old child, which we have watched grow up, which we have grown up together, is one of the great comforts of my life. All that becoming, all that floundering, all that stumbling, all that wonder. Walt's the one helped me with my slap shot. Walt's the one taught me how to cook eggs. Walt's the one helped me paint the shirt I donned at homecoming that said, fuck apartheid on the front and stop police brutality on the back. Walt's the one picked me up when I needed a ride, gave me money when I needed it, shared his sorbet, his gummy bears, his cheesesteak and pizza, his extra hockey stick, his car. Walt's the one who said, when I was not quite sure how to extract myself from a relationship that was making me sad, dude, what are you doing? Walt's the one who would tell me I'm fucking up, but would never judge me a fuck up. Walt's the one who makes me think of Donny Hathaway's song, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. Walt's the one who never fled from my need, flailing and sloppy and shitty and even cruel sometimes, though it might be, which maybe explains why I will never put his phone number in my phone. I keep it by my heart. Oh, one last thing, sort of a first thing, truth be told. For my 17th birthday, when I still mainly only read the sports page of the Bucks County Courier-Times, dude gave me Kant's Critique of Pure Reason and Nietzsche's book Beyond Good and Evil, which you might call, in addition to throwing your money down the drain, setting a ridiculously high bar. Or you might call it belief, which, though I never would have said this out loud, I've actually needed people to have in me. I have needed to be, we need to be, believed in, which, in a certain kind of way, is like being birthed. And just like his gummy bears and hockey sticks, I guess I'm taking Walt's birthday. Because when Walt was born, so too was I. Thank you. This one is called The Full Moon. Friends, I am 47 years old, nearly a half century of living under my belt, and it was only today, reading about herbs and tinctures and planting schedules and various other astro-agronomical affairs, that I learned, I am so shy to admit it to you, that the moon wanes into blank. I knew it waxed into full, but the waning part into no moon, which they call new moon, somehow eluded me, which I'm guessing it didn't you. You probably learned it and kept it learned in 4th grade or something. Not me. For some reason, I was under the impression, clearly not the observational impression, that it goes from super bright, full, werewolves and such, to off, like hitting a light switch. I mean, look, I am only now learning this despite the fact that, among other things that might have hit me, like my eyes, despite the cognitive acrobatics I've been doing to keep my understanding in place, like not believing my eyes, I believe 1,000% that the moon, given as it affects the waves in the ocean and given as we are mostly ocean, affects us profoundly. The moon may have chosen few of the words in that last sentence. I am all the way on that team and have been for a little while now, even though I was quite slow getting there. Committed atheistico-materialist I aspired to be, pretending, or hoping, everything was a machine that could be parsed and tinkered and decoded and conquered and possessed by the human intellect. Figured out, I guess. Myself especially, I wonder. No luck. What is that about? I mean, my God, I wonder if I would have been in my youth a congregant in the Bill Gates et al. Church of The earth is a half-wit machine we can outsmart, i.e. lube up to make spin better, and make a killing while doing so. I really wonder, maybe kinda I was, though wayward or black sheepishly, given as I could never not take my dreams seriously. Given as though I refused palm readers and astrologers and their occult ilk because I testified I didn't believe them, it's really because I believe them. Anyhow, alas, thanks to my boundless, bottomless, boundaryless ignorance, God damn it, holy shit, waxing and waning, have you heard? The world again is made to me anew, which, in a certain kind of way, my friend Penelope explained to me, if I heard this right, is how Descartes thought about wonder. Wonder requires the novel, or the new, he said. He also evidently said wonder is without a companion or opposite emotion. You know, the way happiness has sadness and excitement has lethargy, etc. In this, and probably some other things, I disagree with Descartes, because wonder's opposite emotion is know-it-allery. The know-it-all's job is to put a stake in wonder's fat and gooey heart. Nothing new under the sun, etc. Which, of course, most everything is new, or becomes so when we look longer or closer. And so, in addition to touching toes, expressing need, speaking in tongues, getting everything all over the place, wonder, being perpetually wonderstruck, is another thing the very young are our gurus at. It's why they walk so damn slow and never stop with the questions. I wanted to read that because those mites that you described are so beautiful. God, it's like such a kind of precision that you were describing them, which to me was fascinating and totally titillating. This is called The Lady in the Tree. I had just put my laundry at the laundromat. I had just put in my laundry at the laundromat, and I was okay, let me do that again. I had just put in my laundry at the laundromat, and as I was sitting on the curb in the sun, looking across the parking lot, I heard but did not see a woman yell, "A girl, right?" And a brown dude, walking beneath the voice and pushing a baby stroller, turned the chariot to the woman, who was, now I could tell, obscured by a tree. And so her voice, a white Hoosier voice with a touch of the East, a little pinch of Jersey or Philly back there, which, gotta say, smooths out my hackles some, seemed to be coming from the tree. This brown dude, who pretty sure was not a black dude, which I think I gathered, stay with me, from his footwear, a certain kind of sandal, very thin, possibly leather with a loop over the toe, was darker skinned than me, although I am, in common parlance, in many parts of this country anyway, though the world overall is an entirely different story, a black dude. Race is like God. It'll do whatever you need it to. Dude turned his baby girl to the white woman shouting to him from up in the tree, something about Halloween, which, what do I know? 1,000 assumptions a second. This dude ain't trick-or-treating. And she said, "Something, something beautiful, something, something precious." And he seemed not to be saying anything, though I could see him looking up into the tree, nodding, a somewhat reticent or guarded smile. And I heard from the tree something like, "Hair ties," and then the brown dude nodded, his baby girl still tilted on her rear wheels. And then it was quiet for a second, and the brown dude rested the carriage back down on all four wheels before taking a few steps to his right, where he bent over to pick up whatever the woman threw down from the tree. I'm guessing some hair ties for his beautiful, precious baby girl. After he grabbed the hair ties, he waved to the tree with the same hand that was holding the gift. And the woman in the tree said something like, "Okay, baby." And the man turned his carriage and baby girl to carry on their way. Immediately after which she hollered at this big, burly white dude in a camo hat leaning against a phone pole across the street, "You okay?" which he didn't quite seem. But he smiled too. I could see it beneath his camo cap. And he nodded and gave the tree a thumbs up. And this one's called The Lady on the Porch. Same day. This is one of those days the book isn't big enough. Because in the intervening 45 minutes, the white-voiced lady in the tree has spoken to literally every single person who has gone by. Every single one, which is up to about 13, if I was counting right. My Nana also loved to sit on her porch, regardless of where she lived, probably because she loved being a black-voiced lady in the tree, dispensing goodies and advice and compliments and critiques and hair ties and such. My Nana loved talking shit at the world. Nana also liked to sit on the porch, she said, probably because her last name was Porch, from her third husband, who my mother reports wasn't great, though I never met him. I knew her first husband, my father's father, who I knew as Papa, and her second husband I met once at their son's funeral. Keith died of a heart attack at 35. When I was having some heart stuff and they did a family history, I was like, nope. And then I called my brother to double check, and we remembered, oh yeah, Uncle Keith. And when I said, I had an uncle, should I put that down? They said, yeah, you probably should. Nana's second husband, Mr. Turner, like Keith, was tall, dark brown, very handsome, with pretty hands. But about Nana's third husband, Porch, the one I never met, my mom's beef, like my Nana's incidentally, was that he was always playing golf instead of working. I have no beef with not working, though I do have beef with golf. It sounds like Nana is maybe, at last, truly on her way. She's 96, and all three of her siblings, aged 99 to 90, are alive. In a nursing home in Youngstown, Ohio, she's no longer able to get out of bed. She's very tired. You can let go, Nana. It's been a long time. About a decade ago, when I was visiting her in her high-rise old folks' home across from the Cleveland Clinic, in addition to flirting hard with some man in the elevator, you got a car? Because I don't mess with no man without a car. And boasting about how a couple nights prior she had been at a geriatric dance-off and was by far the best one down there. She bragged me up and down the hallways, telling the other old folks, this is my baby, and he's a writer, and telling everyone she made me greens without the ham hock, because he doesn't eat meat, and still they're good. We went to Corky and Lenny's out on Chagrin Boulevard, just past Shaker Heights, where Nana got a pastrami and I got a veggie burger, which they, for some reason, kindly made a double. And she told me the waitress was flirting with me. She dipped her French fry into the ketchup and pointed at my double. Then she giggled, the wispy way she did. She's trying to get with you, Rossi. Takes one to know one, I guess. We came back to sit on her 6th-floor porch overlooking the parking lot, where she was growing peppers and tomatoes and greens in pots. She was telling me about her mama's garden. Just like I am incapable of calling my father's mother anything but Nana, my Nana was incapable, it seemed, of calling her mother anything but Mama. Before she excused herself for a second and came back with a bag of goodies from what she called, pretty sure, the Hunger Center. Inside was a cheap electric toothbrush. She grabbed 2. Some store-brand toothpaste. She grabbed 2. Some beans and some spaghetti. Baby, could you use this? She asked. And though I didn't really need it, I said, yes, please, and thank you. Oh, but I also wanted to mention that after listening to the lady in the tree for a while, I went back in to change my laundry and I noticed the third of my 3 machines was empty. And I figured the attendant maybe moved my clothes somewhere. But when I asked, she told me she didn't know. And then she went into detective mode. She eventually figured opening a washer a few doors down and seeing some granny panties in there. Aha! That lady must have taken your clothes. We laughed together, considering that granny finding my clothes, which, though I am shedding some pounds through these times, they ain't gonna kill me like that. I'm still 6'4", and my clothes on that lady will be very big. My clothes will make that granny a baby. Lord, I believe in almost nothing anymore, except these fleeting sweetnesses, these dime a dozen precious sweetnesses, these sweetnesses that seem to me the organizing fact of our lives, or maybe more accurately, the reasons to stay alive. these people in trees and on porches and in laundromats taking my phone number for when my clothes came back. And while I was giving her my number, a jacked older woman in a tank top and jeans standing guard next to her washer, good idea, and reading her phone, who I'd noticed glancing up periodically at our conversation, called out. She was still looking down at her phone, but she was smiling. "That's life in the laundromat." And maybe I'll read for time. I'm like you, Brian, the clock thing is, I'm worthless on that. Maybe I'll read one more. Okay. I'm going to read two more. This one's kind of short, and I haven't read it out loud yet. It's ridiculous. This is called Hickeys, Ostentatiously Blandished. Though there is something so weird to me about the way the children these days unabashedly flaunt their hickeys, like they're jewelry or something, how they almost wear them like a fleeting public emblem, a bruisey ring, I guess, of having been hoovered for a night or afternoon or something. That doesn't mean I don't like it. I mean, I like it on their behalf. I like it for them. I like that these kids have apparently kicked the hickey shame. I know shame is like water and just looks for a place to settle. But still, sometimes it's nice even to celebrate when shame moves someplace else. I remember the ends to which so many of my generation went trying to conceal their welts, comb, ice, etc. The ends to which I concealed any possibility of being a desirous creature from my parents or any of the adults in my midst, etc. Oh, I just remembered this. If a woman ballpark my mother's age was working the counter of CVS when I was getting my condoms, I'd bail, or sometimes just steal them. The miserable internal chatter that goes along with that shame, the beliefs, the wreckage. Not these kids, not hickey shame anyway. As I was drinking a coffee on the porch of the cafe and watched a few of their bruised ilk go unself-consciously by, I breathed an actual sigh of relief. How nice, I thought. When I was but a young professor of poetry, an assistant as it's called on the inside, which means on 6 years probation, a 6-year tryout, 6 years pretending you agree with everyone and doing any and everything asked of you. A student once came to my office with so many goddamn hickeys on his neck. I mean, it was hickeys on top of hickeys. It was so many hickeys they made a kind of Joan Mitchell painting of his throat. A purple swarm of untentacled jellyfish wrapping about his pale neck, slurping from the neck of his t-shirt up to about the fine hairs of his chin. That's what I thought. These adamant hickeys, which one might in a corny way say were like a map of desire, were like a map of how this kid had been almost eaten, looked to me. I worked as hard as I ever have not to let my eyes drift down from his eyes to his collar, where he looked around the neck like an albino leopard or something. Dude was so bruised up. And because it was a full 15 years before these new, heroic, shameless hickey hussies, his being unconcealed made me think, maybe this is a plea for help. Maybe I'm supposed to liberate this kid from some suction dungeon, while answering to the best of my ability his questions about line breaks and Theodore Retke, and why we were watching Richard Pryor videos in a poetry class. But given as I was still on probation and inclined to keep my job, in addition to always keeping my door open and other such ancillary self-policings, I went the extra mile in adhering to all of the possible prohibitions, ultimately on closeness, on taking care, because there is an office for that, and it isn't this one. Put it on your syllabus. That's not your job. And I understand how closeness easily teeters or spills into abuse, especially where power is unequally distributed, where the hierarchical power structure is the bedrock of the system, or rather it is the system. And the first and almost sole lesson of school is the preservation of that hierarchical power structure. But isn't it interesting? No, I mean sad. Isn't it sad that rather than troubling or even eliminating the power structure and thereby the inevitable, the requisite abuse of power, we excise the closeness or the possibility of such. We preserve the power at the expense of closeness, keeping always our distance, for which, in this instance anyway, thank God, because it kept me from blurting out what I was thinking, though I kind of knew the answer ballpark too. Dude, what happened to your neck? And I'll do this last one. This is called Dream. No, that's not that. It's called Angels All. Is that the one I want to do? 1 second. No, this is the one I want to do. It's called Throwing Children, which is a delight. It is some miracle, some delight when a kid who has a hard time becomes a kid who's having a good time, in no small part thanks to you throwing that kid in the air again and again on a mile-long walk home from the Indian joint as her mom looks sideways at you like, you don't need to keep doing that. Because you're pouring with sweat and breathing a little bit now. You're getting a good workout. But even though it's sometimes very hard for you to believe, you say, I'm good. I'm good. Because the kid laughs like a horse up there, laughs like a kangaroo beating her wings against the light because she laughs like a happy little kid. And when coming down and grabbing your forearm to brace herself for the time when you will drop her, which you don't, and slides her hand into yours as she says for the 40th time, the 50th time, inexhaustible her delight, again, again, again and again. And you say, give me to the redbud tree, or give me to the persimmon tree, because she knows the trees, this kid. And so quiet you almost can't hear through her giggles, she says, okay. Till the next tree when she explodes, howling, yanking your arm from the socket. Again, again, all the wolves and mourning doves flying from her tiny throat. And you throw her so high she lives up there in the tree for a minute. She notices the ants organizing on the bark and a bumblebee carousing the little unripe persimmon in its beret. She laughs and laughs as she hovers up there like a bumblebee, like a hummingbird up there giggling in the light, like a giddy little girl up there the world knows how to love. Thank you. Oh, we don't? Okay. If anyone has a question, I'll stay. I'm not running anywhere. Yeah, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Okay, good. Yep. Yep. And there's this one because I borrowed this one. So. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, she was on the porch right behind that tree. Yeah. And that's what that was her job. Throwing out hair ties. It's like an angel. It's an angel. So many angels like that. Thank you, everyone. It's really good to be with you. Yeah, have a good, yeah, you're welcome.